There ain't no way Dutch is gonna just hide away in a cave somewhere. Goes against everything he stands for. That'd be admitting we're nothing more than low-down criminals.
Which we are.
You don't have to tell me.
So where does it end?
Way up north and way east, in the furthest area away from where the gang's lost riches were hiding, Arthur and Charles come across a campsite covered in human carcasses from various caravans. The men then clear out the cave-dwelling creeps and rescue a girl.
You're safe. It's okay. What's your name, miss? It's okay.
Meredith.
You're gonna be home soon, Meredith.
Arthur will take her to Annesburg, and given that her family has suffered enough, I've chosen for this heroic outlaw to reject yet another reward for saving a poor captive.
Oh, that's okay, ma'am. You just keep her warm and keep her safe.
Before leaving, Arthur gets hit with one of the final reminders of why he's coughing, how badly this specific family is currently living, and how far, in general, his life has fallen. That fall is further expressed in the broader gang once Dutch, Micah, and the rest arrive at the recently renovated cave entrance. And I phrased it Dutch, Micah, and the rest, because that is what the gang has been reduced to.
Micah and I need to do some reconnaissance.
Found a girl. Took her home.
Oh,
You and Micah find anything?
maybe. I think maybe I found our old friend Mr. Cornwall.
You did?
Yeah.
So even after Arthur tells him about the girl he rescued, rescue is not on the forefront of Dutch's mind. What is on his mind is getting into deeper trouble. As per Micah's guidance. Okay, fascinating. Not long after, Uncle drags in a drunk Miss O'Shea.
Honey, you suck of shit!
Back
Who are
and
you?
drunk.
She was the only gang member whose whereabouts were unknown in the previous chapter. Scorned and desperate to affect Dutch, she blurts out that she talked to the Pinkertons.
I told them!
I'm sorry?
I told them, and I tell them again. Now I've got God's ear.
You told who what?
Mr. Milton and Mr. Ross about the bank robbery, and I wanted them to kill you.
You did what?
But this stunt results in something Arthur tried to prevent, but could not.
You...
She knew the rules, Arthur. What the hell is wrong with you?
One of the only laws of the outlaw. Spilt beans, spilt guts. This treacherous campsite is introduced with how the gang deals with treachery, setting up the perfect tonal shift for Beaver Hollow.
You're a nasty woman, Miss Crenshaw, a nasty woman. You think I wanted to shoot her? You seem to like it. I saw that beady look in your eye. You're
Morning,
drunk
Arthur.
again, and you're a fucking murderer. She broke the rules. She did no such thing.
Molly's unmarked grave marks the unmanageable mania that grows more and more amongst the members of the gang. Karen and Susan have had tension, mutual disrespect, and vitriol before, but nothing as venomous as this.
She was in love, you sour-faced old crone. Goddamn you, murderer! Murderer!
In prior camps, they still found the time to sing together. In fact, they found many times to do so. But now, nobody's singing with anyone else. Only lone cowboys with their songs. Javier might play a tune like before, and if you manage not to catch it throughout your playthrough, you might find Pearson playing a shanty far more useful and cathartic at this time in the game.
Goodbye, fare ye well. Goodbye, fare ye well.
Their voices are their own and on their own, because everyone is alone. It's not just the prospects that are dying. The culture is dying. Pearson's been hitting the old bottle of aged Navy blues.
It's over, Mr. Morgan. It's all over.
And it seems like he only has two moods in Chapter 6, drunk and depressed. And Karen is both at the same time. She's been hitting the drink even harder after Sean's death, sleeping with a bottle in her hand and waking up still drunk and somehow doing guard duty.
Wake up.
Unlike Pearson, who's almost on the same level of drunken misery, Karen is likely not going to recover. And as Karen protested, Grimshaw may have been the one to erase comfortable society from the picture, but even she is questioning Dutch's actions.
I still think maybe things will turn out okay. You'll steer Dutch right. I know you will.
I have always been loyal, Dutch. And I shall go on being loyal, but what are we doing here? We need to move and keep moving.
Susan is also the one to tell you that someone's broken the box. But more on that later. Tilly and Mary Beth will argue about Molly's death, and it's the first time I've heard Mary Beth insult someone's core like this, and directed at, of all people, one of her closest friends.
Tilly, I do believe you got a cold heart.
Now you know that ain't true.
Of course it ain't, but I'm scared.
Javier and Bill will approach you about where your loyalties lie, and they'll berate others for not being blind with their loyalty.
Where's your faith?
I got a son, Mr. Escuela. I want him to live.
It's by staying together that we live. Come on!
Like Mary Beth, Uncle and Trelawney don't do much this chapter except eventually evacuate. When Pearson is finally fed up with feeding these feckless feathermuckers, he leaves with Uncle, and Mary Beth follows after. And to say the least, this makes Dutch a bit, miffed.
Pearson left. Old Uncle. The traitors. Both gone. I think Mary Beth left as well. They are goddamn cowards, Arthur. Cowards. Of all the time we spent to run off.
Interesting, as this contradicts with how he was talking not too long ago.
This isn't a prison camp. I am not forcing anybody to stay.
Of course, not all who refuse to stand by Dutch leave. One of them can be kicked out.
Herr Strauss.
Predatory loans! If you're talking to us, something's probably gone wrong.
If you don't go after the final debtors, Herr Strauss will pack up and leave, having given up faith. But this should never happen, as Arthur should be the one to expel the shameful side of the gang and directly see the hurt those debtors have gone through. In short, Strauss is as Sadie describes.
Strauss is a bag of nerves.
More like Herr Stress, am I right, fellas?
I don't know if I like being associated with this.
Either way, Strauss doesn't last long in Beaver Hollow. Additionally, Adler added that
Swanson's actually gone and cleaned up his act.
And it's a relieving turnaround for the Reverend. He expresses concern for Arthur's well-being, and Arthur notices his.
You seem well, on the other hand.
Yes, I've stopped all that silly business. I think I'm okay.
He's objectively in his best mood, and it's because he's given up the morphine and the drinking.
I met a Catholic lady, a nun.
Likely the same Catholic lady that will replace Swanson in the final mission with Captain Monroe. If Arthur had freed the captives, returned the crucifix, and made a contribution for the hungry people of the city, Sister Calderon will be on her way to affirm the continuity of the first game. And in this cutscene, she will do for Arthur what Swanson describes she did for him.
And we prayed, and it was lifted. The curse was lifted.
Take a gamble that love exists, and do a loving act.
The loving act that Arthur will do is helping the Marstons. Like I mentioned, Dutch is considering a social call with Cornwall before he considers rescuing John. John has been rescued from wolves to a literally warm welcome, but when he's rescued from the law, Dutch responds with contempt as Arthur warned.
John! What are you doing here?
It's good to see you too, partner.
I meant I hadn't sent for you yet.
Abigail's relieved for his return, but is visibly ready to throw hands at her leader for not caring about the talk of hanging her husband.
They was talking.
The only reason Abigail doesn't leave is because she's waiting for the right opportunity to leave together. And as a result, Jack is forced to remain in this place, and for once, he's not happy.
Hi, Jack.
I don't like waking up in this place.
Naturally, he's the only one to notice that Kane is missing.
I'm really worried. Kane! Come on! Kane! Kane!
Another aspect of home, gone, and probably put down by Micah. And Micah is, well, Micah.
My daddy said, sympathy is for the weak. Old Dutch has made a fool of himself trying to save you, and that's the truth.
But worse so, because with the morale dwindling, the women growing even more uncomfortable, and the family structure breaking down, Micah is going to get exactly the kind of gang that he wants.
We need to be leaner so we can move faster, quieter. I prefer a tight crew. Just 5 or 6 strong gunmen.
And right before the end of this road, Micah just so happened to bump into these two men who don't belong and add up to the precise number that he estimated when John and Arthur returned to the Hollow to confront Dutch. Is it even Dutch's gang anymore?
What's wrong, Arthur?
Nothing at all, boss.
John, go drive this over to Bacchus Bridge. Get it hidden near there.
He really does think he's in charge.
You go on. Get them bags packed up quick, Miss Grimshaw. Come on. All of you.
Well, we're doing our best.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Dutch's tent is fixed at the mouth of the cave, the furthest away from any attack point with everybody else in front of him. And unlike other camps where Arthur's dwellings were in the same house, right outside beside each other, or just down the hall, the distance from Dutch's tent is now significantly further away from Arthur's caravan. He's closed off from the rest of the camp too, usually having his tent flap down, uninviting, and playing no records from his phonograph. If he's not giving a speech no one's listening to or conspiring with the little devil on his shoulder, he's not open to input or engagement.
I'm sorry, Arthur. It's private, you know.
Don't mind me.
What happened to you? Arthur, why did you have to go and change on me?
What are you talking about?
I never lied to you. I told you the truth. I gave you all I had. All of you!
He is distant and on the edge of insanity. Yes, the edge, for he has not gone fully insane as he is not actually in the cave. But he's between the walls, above the cavern, adjacent to crazy is crazy. True, the foreshadowing from Charles and Arthur about Dutch hiding in a cave somewhere is undeniable, but it's not just referring to this cave. It's this one too. In the first Red Dead Redemption, the cave that Dutch runs deeper inside of until he runs out of cave, cutting off the path of his savagery. In Chapter 6, there's still a hint of good in Dutch.
Best thing we can do is let the week go. Move on, get our money, and start over.
That ain't happening.
Well, something's gotta happen.
It's obviously not enough good, but the nuance of precisely how far Dutch has fallen is important to rightly represent. Let us not exaggerate by saying he's completely off his rocker. He's only mostly off his rocker. There's a big difference between... Never mind. To illustrate exactly how rotten he's gotten, consider where he now hides the treasures they've all collected.
The money? It's hidden in the caves at Beaver Hollow.
What?
Yeah. So much for never hiding it near camp. Dutch was getting even sloppier than we thought.
And he has been sloppy. The moral standards that Dutch used to uphold have slowly been sacrificed on the altar of maybe there's money. So to have the ill-gotten gains in the most obvious place for the enemy to find it is beyond indicative of Dutch's fall from the ideals he pretended to uphold. Keep your money close and your enemies closer. And that's everyone except... Oh. Charles will leave after the hollow is hollowed out and will return to camp with eagle flies from the Wapiti tribe. He's been helping them in any way he can. As a result of his minor absence, instead of affecting the gang on a meaningful level, Charles' great effect is on Arthur, asking him to also help the tribe, which is the same optional chain of missions which lead us to this life-changing conversation with the sister. Charles is mainly there to break eagle flies from the fort and to leave the gang to help the tribe move to Canada after the assault on the oil refinery. He's kind of detached, but more on him in the distant future. Finally, there's Sadie. Sadie's doing fine.
Hi, Sadie.
Hey, Arthur.
You doing okay in all this?
You don't have to worry about me.
But easy for her to say, the only thing she worries about is pouring out perpetual vengeance on the O'Driscolls. And she got what she wanted. Now, to be fair, she does demonstrate her care for the Marstons, as she is snappy about springing John, and there's no hesitation when she rides with Arthur to rescue Abigail. But for most of the time at camp, she's hardly affected by the bad things happening to the gang. Aside from Kieran, she has spent the least amount of time with them, and therefore has the least amount of ties. If it seems like I'm holding back from drawing out more connections and conclusions about these characters, I am, as I am saving the content for other segments down the line. Later in the series, I shall cover each individual gang member's contribution and thematic purpose for the gang throughout the story. So good news, there's more to come from this mega-analysis. But we're not done with Beaver Hollow. I haven't even started with Beaver Hollow, the campsite itself. It's a miserable plateau within the hilly forests of Roanoke Ridge. Before, the site was inhabited by a large and dysfunctional inbred family of killers, and now the site is unhappy home to a small and even more dysfunctional informal family of killers.
Turned into a bunch of killers, I mean it. We ain't even got the delusion of being anything but a bunch of killers.
Still, the gang is far from god-awful, as are the Murphy brood, the original occupants of the Hollow. The Vanderlyn gang typically targeted the big scores, the trains and the banks, as their primary source of funding. They were never so desperate that they needed to resort to robbing anyone and everyone that imposed on their territory. But I think the Hollow being home to the Murphys is less about being the gang's perfect parallel and more about being the trajectory of the kind of killers they'd become if their current tendencies continued and remained unpunished. It's a harrowing place for Hollow people, those that have given up on being charitable.
Someone smashed the box.
What box?
The money box. We'd had that for so many years.
Why did they smash it?
Well, I don't know.
I like the detail that the donation box was smashed by an unknown party. Normally, we'd love to pin the blame on a particular piece of shit, but this time there's no clear implication of who had done it. Who destroyed the practice of almsgiving within the family? The family did. It could have been anyone. Nobody wants to contribute to this anymore. No one is good enough to give of themselves to the gang, and those who are good enough as people should do the only thing good people can do in these circumstances. Get out of there.
Yeah, get out of there!
Those that remain are either fools or fiends. The kind of creatures that have given up keeping up internal appearances. Did you notice that you can't do any chores in Chapter 6 either? Chapter 4 was the last time the player could do that. Immersively boring activities, which I love, by the way, that increase honor and Deadeye experience, indicating chores are good for your soul, and they keep you sharper. Splitting wood, dropping off corn sacks, and topping off water. Around Shady Belle, the water then may have been swampy, but at least it was something. But now, don't be silly. No one is willing to hoof it down the hill to gather water, which I might add is not for drinking. The gang has buckets of drinking water in several spots around camp. The other bucket of water was mainly for washing, whether it was Arthur's muddy face, Swanson's drunk face, or the dishes. No one is clean in Beaver Hollow. No one's carrying their weight around because the weight of their predicament is far too heavy for all of them to carry, so they carry on, doing only the bare minimum, not taking the time to play cards or dominoes. And on top of that, the horses suffer from overcrowding and constant fear. The ground is rock, but instead of describing a firm foundation, this stony plateau provides far less in the way of food for the horses to eat.
So it goes. They are goddamn cowards.
One thing I was still trying to piece together is why it's called Beaver Hollow, as if beavers could carve out rock caves with their teeth. Beavers are native to the area, and many of them, including the legendary beaver, are just south of Butcher Creek, having built their dam. The name could simply be related to the region, but it almost seems like Butcher's Hollow would have been the perfect, way too on-the-nose name, but was already half taken by the aforementioned village, where its name there refers to the actual trade of chopping meat for folk to eat. I thought maybe the name reflects how the beaver makes its home by disrupting the flow of nature, but then again, they're also a part of nature, so I was ready to conclude that Beaver Hollow is just a name. Same with Murphy. I didn't find anything special about the name Murphy. I thought maybe it's the same situation with Beaver Hollow. But the more I thought about it, I realized beavers are a hard-working species. They knock down trees for the branches and build themselves protection from predators in the form of ponds spawned by their dams. They work to secure their future. A beaver, then, is a creature of promise. The promise that they will do what they can to secure their promised land of safety. Dutch is also a maker of such a promise.
We ain't done yet, because things are gonna get tough, but we are gonna get where we want to go. Whenever I got you two by my side, things are gonna be just fine. We will disappear, be reborn. Then we meet up We gather the family, we get some money, and get the hell out of there. That's the plan. I ain't got a final plan yet. Arthur, I ain't got it.
Dutch doesn't have a plan, he only has a promise. One that he breaks over and over again, until there's no one left to make promises to. His words are strong, but empty, just as they had been from the beginning. Remember how we almost believed him back then?
But we lost some folks. Now, if I could throw myself in the ground in their stead, I'd do it, gladly. And I would throw myself in the ground in their place 100 times over if I could. I miss every man and every woman who fell. I do. And I would die in their place gladly if I could.
His promises are as hollow as the hollow itself. If promises were crackers, my Arthur would be fat.
Think on that, boy.
With that covered, let's move on to the map, as the physical location of the campsite means more than being in the furthest opposite corner from Blackwater. Unlike West Elizabeth, northeastern New Hanover has what the kids call slim pickings. Blackwater was an up-and-coming town with enough corruption to guarantee a decent score. That's simply not the same story with Beaver Hollow's surrounding communities. Butcher's Creek is right down the road, but it's definitely not the kind of place you'd call an opportunity. It's nothing but poor, poison people who live by their superstitions under the leadership of a charlatan shaman, almost exactly like the gang. One day, Van Horn is not exactly better. Southeast from Butcher's Creek, the town has at least a few businesses, that's something, but it's mainly a spitty saloon, a half-star hotel, and a fence. Something useful to the outlaw beyond being robbable. There's no law in Van Horn, so everyone in town is strapped. Even if there was something here worth risking life and limb for, the people have their pieces too, and will not make their peace with you.
Next time, avoid me.
And lastly, to the north from here is Annesburg, a company mining town with neither a saloon nor general store in operation. The one store that they have running is a gun store, and it's run by the nicest shop owner in the game. Even if you were insistent on robbing from the guy who has all the guns, why would you want to?
Ah, you have kept that perfectly maintained. I love to see that.
The only money worth taking coming through Annesburg was Leviticus Cornwall, and that did not go anywhere, so Micah had to swipe some documents that gave them an idea of where the capital might come from.
It looks like Mr. Cornwall's company has signed a railroad contract with the army. And they're also moving dynamite down from, well, the Annesburg mines to Saint Denis to resell. And there's bonds at his oil factory. Maybe there's a way to get them off our back and get the money that we need.
And that is the bright idea. See, there is no money in this region. Their plan is to force the money to come to them. Why not just move somewhere with better opportunities? Well, they physically can't.
What are we doing here? We need to move and keep moving.
We need money! You dumb fool! Money! Or we are dead!
They can't go west or south because the law had already followed them there. They can't go east because...
Well, because then we'll be in the ocean, so we're gonna have to go north.
But they also can't go further north because the caravan can't climb waterfalls. That's why they really do need a boat.
New York? We are gonna go to New York. Now, they have been chasing us south and east and west. We're gonna get a boat, we're gonna get on a river, and we're gonna go north.
New York.
And it's why they need the money there. But how do they get the money there? And who has the money? Or rather, who has the kind of money they could bring with them in response to gang activity? The government. The same entity currently actively seeking their destruction. In practice, the Vanderlyn Bell plan involves pissing off the feds so much that it compels the army to bring all the cash wages necessary to quickly repair a major railway bridge. Of course, guaranteeing the amount of money needed to repair that bridge would also guarantee the army bringing the army, trained, hardened combatants with bullets of their own. That's the theory. It sounds stupid. In concept, however, this may in fact be the most ingenious plan they can muster in this general Custerfest. That's how lost they are at this time. The stupidest, most counterintuitive concept ever is currently the best idea. Goad the government. Anger the army. They'll bring the bank. Dutch is so focused on the nebulous promise of paradise that he's willing to bait the biggest predator of his own kind just to steal from their stashes. But maybe you've been thinking for the last 7 years, why the hypocrisy?
It was talking of hanging me, Dutch.
They was talking. They was talking. And now they may come and hang us all.
Why is Dutch completely on board with boarding a train that comes with the wrath of the law, but beforehand angry at Arthur for sparking the same wrath over freeing John? Well, you see, it's not hypocrisy. That would mean Dutch is being inconsistent. He is not. For unlike pieces of paper with U.S. presidents on them, John Marston is not money. Dutch behaves as if the prison break was not worth it because the only thing of worth to him now is money. Family and helping the poor becomes less important to Dutch to the point of its value disappearing entirely.
I guess I'm more interested in saving lives than winning at chess.
And maybe life ain't such a thing to cling on to so tightly.
No doubt. What about the women?
You sound like Hosea. I miss him.
I asked you a question.
John, you are my brother. You are my son. I was coming for you. You know me. We shoot fellers as need shooting. We save fellers as need saving. Feed them as need feeding.
Not this again. It's been quite a while since we helped anyone but ourselves, and even you know that.
People will see these boys. They won't notice us, and they'll think we're gone. Everyone will blame everything on the Indian problem, and we'll disappear up the river. But first, we need to trap them in this pass. Help me dynamite up these trees.
So, you're using them?
No, sir. No. Never. But you're okay.
What a mess.
I know. But a mess is what we need. Oh, we just escaped from chaos.
He might have saved Arthur from the rapids after escaping the sheer numbers of the army, but during the oil refinery mission, after this steam stuns Arthur, Dutch walks away from a mere 3 dudes who are not even aware that Dutch is there. He could have surprise attacked them and easily saved Arthur. But he already had the bonds he came for. Familial bonds be damned. It's no surprise that in the final mission of the main story, Dutch is convinced by Micah's assertion that Abigail is not worth the trouble, even when her 4-year-old son is right there.
Yep. We need to keep riding on this one, Dutch. You know it. Every man here knows
So we
it.
just gonna let the boy be made an orphan?
It ain't like that.
What is it like?
I wanna live, cowpoke. I still got the choice. Dutch, it's just a girl.
You're right. Micah, it pains me to say it, Arthur. But he is right.
Touch!
Come on, boys.
Yeah!
Well, I guess that's that then. All them goddamn years.
Come on, Arthur. Let's go get her. You and me's all we need.
Before the two of them ride, Arthur gives up his sack of cash and some of his own cash for Tilly Jackson, the second-to-last family he directly affected to find a good life, and one of many. Make no mistake, my least favorite camp in the game is Beaver Hollow, but my favorite chapter is Chapter 6. While Dutch, Micah, and the rest may have caused the greatest amount of trouble at this time in the story, it's also the one chapter where Arthur can do the most good. Whether it's giving away money after canceling a debt or helping the same family he himself handicapped, the person Arthur becomes is a protagonist I'd much rather be controlling than the person he was before.
I just wanted to say the debt's canceled and here, take this. It won't bring your husband back, I know. You need money and I don't. You ain't gonna last much longer out here if you don't know how to hunt. Come on. I'll show you. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what happened. I was a fool. And I'm suffering for my foolishness. But don't go and get yourself killed because of your pride.
In order for Jack to be safe, for Tilly to have a home, for Marybeth to have that desk, for Pearson to have his stable job, you, the player, have to go through this dark time. As much as Beaver Hollow sucks, Arthur's character development outweighs the quote-unquote problem of an unideal environment and lack of little features. Simply put, if things didn't go badly, if the game wasn't as fun as it used to be, we wouldn't be calling Arthur Morgan the greatest fictional character of all media of all time. The gang needed Beaver Hollow. If the vibes weren't off, if it didn't suck to be here, if this context and environment was fun to be in, the whole game would be worse. Playing out an indefinite fantasy of outlaw exploits and outdoor exploration is no doubt fun, but it's a whole other kind of fulfillment when that same fantasy enables you to make your time spent with the gang a meaningful endeavor. At the end of his life, making it all mean something is what Arthur Morgan's concerned about the most.
And all you can do now is decide the man you want to be for the time you have left.
But I know now that you don't get to live a bad life and have good things happen to you.
I think you're being hard on yourself.
Maybe. All I can do now is try and make some things right. You could give something to Jack. It's that or... Well, I don't see no way out of this.
What are you gonna do?
I'll be okay, but do it for me. It would make me feel good, if that makes any sense. We're gonna get you the money you need. Knowing the three of you got out, well, maybe all of this will still mean something. Tilly and Susan, too. I'll do whatever it takes. Oh, them years, Dutch. For this snake.
His final confrontation with the remnants of the gang is driven by his indignation with Dutch. Arthur kept trying to appeal to Dutch's sense of family and kept failing, but recognizing that...
I just saw Agent Milton, Dutch. Abigail shot him. She's okay. Not that you care too much about that.
His strategy now is sharing the intel from Agent Milton, who told him that it wasn't Molly, but Micah who was the rat. Keep in mind, Arthur didn't know John was still alive and on his way to camp, so despite the cache in the caves, Arthur may have been willing to show up outnumbered so long as he planted that seed of Micah's treachery, his last attempt to get through to Dutch.
Dutch.
Think of the future. Dutch. Be practical now.
Notice how Micah's best defense is to ignore the truth because they're so close to escaping. Dutch now has a choice, but it's not to believe one man or the other because he could learn that Micah was the rat and still leave with his money. This was an ultimatum between love and the love of money. But when John returns...
Dutch! You left me! You left me to die!
My boy, I didn't have a choice. John, I didn't have a choice.
Left me!
It almost sounds like he's not just talking about the last train job, but every action that had brought us here. It's as if Dutch is admitting he's become a slave to his base desires and his fantastical fixations. Any corruption or disloyalty can be squared away with, I just had to do it.
Dutch killed a girl in a bad way, but it was a bad situation. But for me, I still believe in him. Because, well, he did what he did. But he did it for love. Aww. For all of us. Yes, I feel bad. They didn't deserve that. But listen, I just think, and I've been thinking about this a lot, I just think Dutch loves us. And being loved, well, we're gonna be okay.
This spiritual slavery is what costs the Vanderlyn gang everything. Everything. Not simply their stability and safety, but their souls.
Well, Javier, think for yourself.
Put your
In no time at all, the Pinkertons arrive and the rats scatter. John and Arthur stay together, run through the cave to escape, and ride until they're stopped at the base of this small mountain.
Let's go. Well, what about the money? Abigail gave me the key.
I head down there, I'm dead in 5 minutes. I got a family. That's more important.
Maybe you're right, but...
You want the money? You head down. I gotta go to my family.
Presented to the player is the final choice for Arthur. Whether to personally ensure that John Marston makes it safely home, or run back to get the money hidden in the cave. Many players think that this choice is stupidly easy, and it is, but is it so stupid that the low honor option is completely unwarranted, even for a high honor Arthur? I don't think so. Listen to what Arthur says after he decides to go back for the money.
Dutch. Come and get me, you bastards.
Helping out the Marstons with some cash wasn't the only reason he suggested going back. Arthur wanted to head back to the Hollow for the strong chance that Dutch and Micah would also be going back for that money sack. He was hoping for the byproduct of vengeance. For all them years, and for all them lies.
I figured that you and I had some unfinished business.
This game allows you to attempt revenge. But Arthur will never succeed because he's not C.D. Adler. Because revenge is a fool's game. For me, and for most, the most correct choice is helping John at high honor. However, the high honor alternative is still valid. It's excellent poetry to behold all the buildup the gang has accumulated over the summer just to have Micah claim it all as if he was the one who stole everything from the gang. Beaver Hollow would then be more than a terrible campsite. It'd be the grave site. The tragedy alone would be powerful, but additionally, Micah's depth of field would be forever broken.
Oh, you got me pretty good, Black Lung.
Now that does sweeten the deal, I gotta say. But it's better for consistency of character for Arthur not to revert to the kind of person that he had tried to remind and reform since the start of the game. So I believe it's best for Arthur Morgan to suggest revenge, but not go through with it. He wants to stick it in Dutch's nose, he wants to give Micah the Molly treatment, but the better option is to choose love. Now, suppose someone really wants to give Micah the impromptu optic surgery. Say that's you. Say that you say, no matter what path you go down, John will still make it to his family, so you may as well fight Micah with all you have left and give that rat something to remember Arthur by. I hear you, but what the player and these two brothers don't get in this choice is a proper goodbye.
I'll see you around, John Marston.
Be safe.
Compared to the emphasis of this,
you're my brother.
I know. I know.
That's the closure these boys needed. And I'm glad both options are available. It strengthens the player's relationship with this game and with these characters to force them to make that binary decision between family and robbery. The choice is between success and failure. You either will succeed at smoothly getting John to safety with a formal farewell, or you will fail at stealing back what the gang stole, even if you believe he's stealing it for the Marstons. Now, in these chapter campsite videos, I haven't usually invested this much time deep diving into the story irrespective of the campsites, but I had to here because there's one final idea illustrated in Arthur's final choice. The reason I welcome the option to go down the less popular path despite never doing so myself is because it gave me spectacular imagery that helped me better understand the imagery of the obvious choice. When you go back for the money, you descend to Beaver Hollow. When you make it back to camp, you go down even further into the cave. You might make it out the cave, but you won't leave the hollow, which, by the way, has been set ablaze. You'll fight Micah, surrounded by flames and darkness, in the worst place on the map, this pit of Roanoke Ridge. This choice is the path of dissension. This is hell. On the other hand, if Arthur sticks with John, he ascends. Arthur will push until he can't, and he will fight until he's done. And when he can't push no more, he will give John his satchel and his hat. Everything he has and everything he is. A complete sacrifice, so another may have life and have it abundantly.
I'll hold him off. It would mean a lot to me. Please. Go.
Arthur!
Go to your family.
Arthur!
Get the hell out of here and be a goddamn man.
As the carpenter said, greater love has no one than this, to lay down his life for his friends. When Dutch arrives to the scene, he recognizes the sacrifice Arthur made. Not just for John, but for him as well.
I gave you all I had. I did.
Come on.
Micah eggs and begs Dutch to join him, but Arthur finally got through to him, and so he departs from the snake.
Come on, Dutch. Come on!
Arthur's left alone to sit with his actions, seeing the light one last time, or possibly only the last earthly time. Arthur has ascended. Are the efforts of Arthur Morgan enough to redeem his life for the next one? It's a big question, and it may be too big for the moment. So for now, let us meditate on John's family and the full picture of how Arthur saved them. Will this sacrifice be enough to guarantee a better life for the Marstons? Why don't we ask them? I'd like to take a moment to say thank you all for helping me reach over 20,000 subscribers, which is 15,000 more than where I was 3 months ago. It's really exciting to have this be the path forward, and there's more to come, so I look forward to all the things on that path. Take care.